All right, get ready. I'm gonna take y'all on a wild ride today. There's some stuff that I've been thinking about that that I cosmically downloaded during my yoga practice today. So, for those of you that are familiar with symbolism, this typically means the self, right? As opposed to like a crescent moon being the subconscious, or a circle meaning the superconscious, or God source, or the universe, right? The divine. Usually we start here. We start here with a basic two-dimensional grid symbolizing the duality. So this horizontal axis being the feminine. Let me just write fem. And time, because it's also representative of the timeline if we are here in the present. So this would be past, present, future, right? And then this vertical axis being the masculine, also representing action. Up here positive, down here is inaction, negative. Okay, so there we are. This is kind of the axis of self, right? And so no matter where we are, we're always in the present. And we can decide in that present moment whether we're going to take action or move in a positive direction, generate positive energy, or choose not to act and move and exist in negative energy, which is usually protective or subtracting. So we either having subtractive energy or additive energy, just to kind of look at it from a more neutral perspective, right? And we can move up and down this axis at any given time, and it creates waves. Why does it create waves in the space-time fabric? Because we have these diagonal axes that represent the legacy of the feminine and the ascending masculine. Because feminine is usually categorized as a decline, right? And masculine energy is usually processed as ascending, very much like you would account for the Merkaba with the upside down triangle being the feminine because it represents the female genitalia, and the upright triangle as the masculine because it would represent male genitalia. So basically at any given point, we are affecting the legacy or the future that our successors will exist in based off of whatever type of waves end up being created from whichever point we exist on in the present moment. Because if you look at it from a long perspective, this is our starting point. We have masculine, feminine, and then it alternates, kind of just talking about the cycles of time. I don't know why I put those there. Let's do this again. So descending, it would eventually ascend, descend, ascend, descend, descend, ascend, descend, ascend, which basically ends up kind of looking, see, like a wave, kind of looking like DNA. Oh my gosh. So there you go. Just kind of looking at it like that. And that's basically our timeline right there. Based off of whatever point you decide to be on will create kind of whatever pathway, trajectory you end up setting upon. But, so this is only if you decide to create a course using one decision's made, right? And then it's a domino effect with everything else. But since time is extremely fluid, we are able to make a decision at one place, make a decision in another place, and then constantly change this ripple in time. We're constantly, accessing points of uncertainty, like creating uncertainty, simply by choosing in the present moment. And so whatever you choose creates new structures for future generations, for our successors, and even for yourself as you progress through this future, progress through this timeline. And so what I wanted to another thing I want to talk about is how it's very interesting how you have the cross of self, which creates squares, right? If you're looking at a grid of space-time, it creates squares, which from an astrological standpoint, in terms of astrology aspects, represent challenges. So you can also recognize yourself, like, this could be the challenges of your mother, like your mother's side or your father's side. And you are kind of that intersection between like that ancestry there. And so what you're trying to do is kind of rectify and balance and create a new type of pathway or trajectory based off of what's done in the future here. And by combining forces and integrating both sides of your masculine and feminine ancestry, as well as the energies that those natural elements of the masculine and feminine, positive and negative, that duality that was born within you. And when you decide to do that, then you have better access and understanding to this on this grid, to different points on this grid, and you're able to create more flexibility for yourself in order to affect more consciously and divinely affect this trajectory here. Because not in every moment do we need to be making positive or not in every moment do we need to be taking action or doing something that's additive. That's why that there are cycles in life, much like you see within this wave, because it's this really malleable, uncertain force that we're kind of setting in motion here, because there are times when we shouldn't be taking action. There are times when perhaps we do need to protect ourselves. There are times maybe when we need to subtract something to make space for when it's time to act. And by doing so, and by being flexible in that, we kind of have this aspect of the sextile, which is usually a positive aspect in astrological associations. It's usually 60 degrees of separation, creating opportunity. So basically removing these blocks of the squares and cutting them in half and making triangles out of them, and triangles are divine structures. Triangles make up our vehicle of light, the Merkaba. Triangles and circles end up making Metatron's cube, which is the more complex vehicle of life and a structure through which we're able to traverse through the multi-dimensional matrix. So I hope that made sense. I'm going to do my best to make this a little more digestible at some point, but I just wanted to kind of introduce this to you because I find it interesting. And it's like right here, it's almost like the two aspects of the Merkaba merging also, which I kind of find interesting. So it's like you're able to, and it also looks like a time, hourglass, when you look at it like that. And also reminds me of a Taurus field. So in case you all wanted to see me draw on this board some more. So yeah, just understanding kind of how, no pressure, but how every decision you make is always creating new potentials for the future. And so if you're ever stuck in being too positive or too negative by perhaps overdoing it and burning yourself out, or allowing yourself to remain in a state of inactivity and subtraction and depletion, then you're staying set in terms of your trajectory, in terms of this timeline progression. So it's important to be fluid, just as time and space are, in order to create your reality and select the path of your choosing. So that's that. Hope you all enjoyed that video. I'll talk to you all soon.